Sound of gunshots, running footsteps. Ruby had 30 seconds to decide, run or die. Through the crack in the storage closet door, she watched 3 men executed in cold blood. And then he looked straight at her. 6 months later, she'd changed her name, her hair, her entire life. But tonight, sitting in a dimly lit lounge serving whiskey to strangers, Ruby's hands were shaking again. Because the most dangerous man in the city had just walked in. And he was staring right at her. Not enough for anyone else to notice. She'd trained herself well over the past 6 months, but enough that the glass of Macallan 25 she carried on her tray trembled, just barely, casting amber ripples across its surface. She steadied her breath, focused on the rhythm of her steps. Heel toe. Heel toe. Don't look up. Don't make eye contact. Don't exist more than you have to. The Vespera lounge was dim tonight, as it always was. Low golden light pooled beneath Art Deco lamps, casting long shadows across marble floors and velvet booths. Jazz hummed through invisible speakers, the kind of smooth, soul-aching melody that made people lean closer to their secrets. The air smelled like expensive cologne, old leather, and something faintly metallic, maybe blood, maybe just power. Ruby had learned not to ask questions here. She'd learned not to be here either. Not really. She was a ghost in a black button-down and slacks, hair pulled into a tight bun, face carefully blank. No makeup. No jewelry. No name tag that said anything true. Here, she wasn't Ruby Richards. She was Kara. Just Kara. A waitress. Nobody. She repeated it to herself every single shift, like a prayer. Nobody notices nobodies. Asterisk. But tonight, that prayer felt thin. Because he was here. Javier Cruz. She'd heard his name whispered 100 times in the 6 months she'd worked at Vespera. Heard it with fear. With reverence. With the kind of weight that made grown men lower their voices and glance over their shoulders. The owner of half the city's underground. The kind of man you didn't cross. The kind you didn't look at unless you were invited to. Ruby had seen him before, of course. He came to Vespera once, sometimes twice a week. Always table 7, the corner booth with a view of both entrances. Always alone, or with one carefully chosen companion. Always impeccably dressed, lethally calm, and completely, magnetically untouchable. And every single time he walked in, the entire room shifted. Conversations quieted. Postures straightened. Eyes dropped. Even the music seemed to soften. Ruby had made it a point to never serve him. She always traded tables, took the bar section, claimed she was swamped. Anything to stay out of his orbit. Because men like Javier Cruz noticed things. And Ruby could not afford to be noticed. But tonight, Melissa had called in sick. Tony was handling a private party in the back. And when Javier walked in, black overcoat slick with rain, dark hair swept back, jaw carved like a threat, the floor manager had looked straight at Ruby and said, "Table 7. Now." She couldn't say no. Not without drawing attention. So here she was, carrying his drink. Trying not to let her pulse hammer so loud he'd hear it. "He doesn't know you." Asterisk, she told herself. Asterisk, he's never even looked at you. You're nobody. Just do your job and walk away. Asterisk. But as she approached table 7, something prickled along the back of her neck. A feeling. Old. Familiar. Dangerous. The feeling of being seen. Javier sat with his back to the wall, fingers steepled beneath his chin, eyes fixed somewhere past the room, past the rain-streaked windows, into some middle distance only he could see. His face was unreadable. Sharp cheekbones, a mouth that looked like it had forgotten how to smile, and eyes so dark they swallowed light. He didn't move as she approached. Didn't acknowledge her. But she felt it anyway. That gravitational pull. That suffocating awareness. She set the glass down gently on the table, her hands still now, perfectly controlled. You're McAllen, sir, she said quietly, voice neutral, professional. She turned to leave. Wait. The word was soft. Almost polite. But it stopped her like a hand around her throat. Ruby turned back, heart thudding. She kept her eyes down. Yes, sir. Javier's gaze lifted. And for the first time in 6 months, their eyes met. His were black. Not brown, black. Deep and fathomless and unblinking, like a predator deciding whether you were prey or something more interesting. You're new, he said. It wasn't a question. 6 months, sir, Ruby replied, keeping her voice even. HM. His eyes tracked her face, slow and deliberate. Not leering. Not suspicious. Just cataloging, like he was filing her away in some mental archive she'd never escape from. A chill rolled through her. What's your name? He asked. Kara. Kara, he repeated, tasting it. His lips curved barely. Not a smile. Something sharper. You're careful, Kara. Her breath caught. I'm sorry. The way you walk. The way you look at the exits. The way you keep your head down. His voice was velvet over steel. You're either running from something, or you've been taught to disappear. Ruby's stomach dropped. He knows. Asterisk. No. No, he couldn't know. I just like to stay professional, sir, she said, and she hated how tight her voice sounded. Javier tilted his head, studying her. Then, after a pause that felt like eternity, he picked up his glass. Smart girl, he said softly. And he dismissed her with a flick of his eyes. Ruby turned and walked. Fast. Not running. Never run, but fast enough to put distance between her and that table, that man, that look that had peeled her apart in seconds. Her pulse roared in her ears. He knows. He knows. He knows. Asterisk. No. Calm down. He was just making conversation. You're paranoid. You're safe. Asterisk. She ducked behind the bar, hands braced on the counter, forcing air into her lungs. And that's when she saw him. Table 4. A man. Mid-40s. Gray suit. Neat haircut. Hands folded on the table. Completely, unnaturally still. He wasn't eating. Wasn't drinking. Wasn't looking at his phone. He was watching. Not Javier. Her. Asterisk. Ruby's blood turned to ice. She knew that look. She'd seen it before. The night everything fell apart. The night she'd hidden in a storage closet and watched through a crack in the door as 3 men were executed in the back office of a downtown warehouse. The night she'd seen his face, the man who'd given the order, and he'd seen hers as she ran. She'd been running ever since. And now, 6 months later, in a city she thought was safe, in a job she thought was invisible, he'd found her. Asterisk. No, not him. But someone like him. Someone sent by him. Her hands went numb. Her vision tunneled. The man at table 4 didn't blink. Didn't move. Just stared. Waiting. Ruby's mind raced. She could run. Right now. Out the back. Disappear again. Change her name again. Move again. But she'd done that twice already. And they kept finding her. Her gaze snapped back to table 7. To Javier. The most dangerous man in the city. The man everyone feared. The man whose name alone made people vanish. A terrible, reckless idea bloomed in her chest. He's being watched too, asterisk, she thought. Asterisk maybe. Or maybe they're using him to get to me. Either way, asterisk. She grabbed a cocktail napkin. Pulled a pen from her apron. Her hand trembled as she scrawled 4 words. You're being watched. Table 4. She folded it once. Twice. Then, before her courage could fail her, she walked back to table 7. Javier was still there, glass half empty, eyes distant. Ruby approached, silent as a shadow. She refilled his water. And as she did, she slid the note beneath his whiskey glass. He didn't react. didn't even glance at it. But his finger, just one, tapped the table. Once. Acknowledgement. Asterisk. Ruby stepped back, heart in her throat, and walked away. She didn't look at table 4. She didn't look at Javier. She just moved. And behind her, in the golden gloom of Vespera Lounge, Javier Cruz's eyes finally shifted. Not to the note. To the man at table 4. Then, slowly, almost lazily, he smiled. Not the smile of a man who'd just been warned. The smile of a man who'd been waiting for this. Ruby didn't see it, but she felt it. The shift in the air. The storm about to break. And somewhere deep in her gut, beneath the terror, beneath the adrenaline, she realized she'd just made the most dangerous choice of her life. So, what do you think? Is Ruby about to be saved, or did she just walk straight into a trap? Asterisk, asterisk, drop your thoughts in the comments. I love reading them. And if you're hooked already, smash that subscribe button because this story is about to get wild. Ruby didn't sleep that night. She'd made it through the rest of her shift on autopilot, smiling when required, pouring drinks with steady hands, pretending the world wasn't collapsing around her. The man at table 4 had left 20 minutes after she'd passed the note. No confrontation. No scene. He'd simply stood, placed cash on the table, and walked out into the rain. But his eyes had found her one last time before he did. A promise. I see you, asterisk. Javier had stayed another hour. He'd nursed his whiskey, made a single phone call, and left without a word. He hadn't looked at her again. Hadn't acknowledged the note. But when she'd cleared his table later, the napkin was gone. And in its place, folded beneath $100 tip, was a different note. Just 3 words, written in sharp, elegant script. Midnight. Back door. Now at 11:47 p.m. Ruby stood in the narrow alley behind Vespera Lounge, rain soaking through her jacket, every instinct screaming at her to run. This was insane. Javier Cruz wasn't a savior. He was a predator, meeting him alone in the dark after what she'd just done. But what choice do you have? Asterisk. The man at table 4 knew where she worked, which meant he knew where she lived, where she shopped, where she existed. She'd run twice before, changed her name, dyed her hair, burned every bridge. And they'd still found her. Running wasn't working anymore. Maybe this was different. Maybe Javier. Headlights cut through the alley. A black SUV rolled to a stop 10 feet away, engine purring, windows tinted so dark she couldn't see inside. Ruby's heart hammered. Her feet locked to the pavement. The back door opened. Get in. Javier's voice. Low. Commanding. Not a request. Ruby hesitated, every survival instinct she had screaming danger. But louder than that. You're already dead if you don't. Asterisk. She climbed in. The interior smelled like leather and rain and something darker, gunpowder, maybe. Javier sat across from her, one arm draped across the seat, posture relaxed in a way that somehow made him more terrifying. Up close, in the dim light of the SUV, he was even more devastating than she'd realized. Sharp jaw, dark eyes that missed nothing. A scar, faint and pale, cutting through his left eyebrow. He studied her the way a scientist might study a specimen. You're scared, he said. Not mocking, just observing. Wouldn't you be? Ruby shot back before she could stop herself. His mouth twitched. Almost a smile. Most people don't talk back to me. Most people probably aren't being hunted. No, Javier agreed quietly. They're not. Silence settled between them, heavy and electric. The man at table 4, Ruby said finally. Do you know who he is? I do. Her breath caught. And he's not interested in me. Javier's eyes locked onto hers. He's interested in you. Ruby's stomach twisted. She'd known. Of course she'd known. But hearing it confirmed. Who are you running from, Kara? Javier asked softly. The fake name sounded wrong in his mouth, like he knew it didn't belong to her. I don't lie to me. His voice dropped, deadly quiet. I don't have patience for it. Ruby's jaw tightened. Fear and anger warred in her chest. Why do you care? She asked. You don't know me, don't I? The question hung in the air like smoke. Ruby stared at him, pulse racing. What does that mean? Javier leaned forward, elbows on his knees, eyes boring into hers. 6 months ago, he said slowly, a woman witnessed an execution in a warehouse on 5th and Main. 3 men. 1 shooter. The witness was never found, but her name was flagged in every underground network from here to the coast. He paused. Ruby Richards. The air left her lungs. No asterisk. The official story, Javier continued, is that she's dead. Killed herself, they said. Jumped off a bridge 2 weeks after the incident. No body recovered. His gaze never wavered. But I don't believe in ghosts, Ruby. And you're a terrible liar. Ruby's hands clenched in her lap. Her throat was dry. Her mind raced. He knows. He's known the whole time, asterisk. Why didn't you turn me in? She whispered. Because, Javier said, voice soft as a blade, the man who ordered that execution is someone I've been looking for. And you, Ruby Richards. He tilted his head. You're the only person who's seen his face and lived. Her heart pounded. I didn't see much. You saw enough. Javier sat back, still watching her with that unblinking intensity. Enough that he's been hunting you for 6 months. Enough that he sent one of his dogs to my restaurant tonight. I didn't mean to bring trouble to you. You didn't bring it. Javier's voice was calm. Certain. It was already here. You just illuminated it. Ruby swallowed hard. So what now? You use me as bait? No. The answer was immediate. Firm. She blinked. No. Javier's jaw tightened, just slightly. The man hunting you is named Eli Volkov. He's a broker. Weapons, information, people, he deals in all of it. And 3 years ago, he took something from me. His eyes went distant, cold. Someone. Ruby's breath stilled. Who? My sister. The words landed like stones. Javier's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Something raw. Something that made Ruby's chest ache. She was 17, he continued quietly. She saw something she shouldn't have. One of Eli's deals. He took her to keep her quiet. His fingers curled into a fist. I've been looking for him ever since. Did you find her? Ruby asked, voice barely a whisper. Javier's silence was answer enough. Ruby's throat tightened. I'm sorry. Don't be. He looked at her again, and this time there was something different in his gaze. Something almost human. Just help me end him. I don't know anything useful, Ruby said desperately. I saw him for 30 seconds. I don't know where he is, I don't. You know his face. That's more than anyone else has. I can't identify him from a picture. It was dark, I was terrified. Then you'll know him when you see him again. Ruby's stomach dropped. You want me to? I want you to stay alive, Javier interrupted. And the only way that happens is if we find Eli before he finds you. He leaned forward again. I can protect you, Ruby. But you have to trust me. Trust you. Ruby let out a bitter laugh. You're a criminal. So is the man trying to kill you. Javier's voice was blade sharp. The difference is, I'm offering you a choice. Ruby stared at him, heart racing, mind spinning. This was insane. Trusting a mafia boss. Agreeing to help him hunt a man who'd already killed dozens. But what was the alternative? Keep running. Keep hiding. Keep waiting for the day someone like Table 4 found her and didn't just watch. She closed her eyes. Took a breath. Opened them. Okay, she said. Javier's expression didn't change. But something in his posture eased. Okay, he echoed. But I have conditions, Ruby added quickly. One dark eyebrow rose. Conditions. You keep me alive. You don't lie to me. And when this is over. She met his eyes. I walk away. Free. Clean record. New identity if I need it. Javier considered her for a long moment, then extended his hand. Deal. Ruby hesitated, then took it. His grip was warm, strong. It sent a shiver up her arm that had nothing to do with fear. One more thing, Javier said, still holding her hand. You don't go back to your apartment tonight. Eli knows where you live. Then where? You stay with me. Ruby's eyes widened. Absolutely not. It's not a suggestion. His thumb brushed across her knuckles, barely perceptible. You're under my protection now. That means you stay where I can see you. I'm not some. You're a target, Ruby. His voice softened, just slightly. And I don't lose twice. The weight of those words settled over her. She pulled her hand back. Nodded. Okay. Javier's lips curved. The barest hint of a smile. Good girl. And despite everything, the fear, the danger, the absolute insanity of what she'd just agreed to, Ruby felt something flutter in her chest. Something dangerous. Something that felt almost like hope. Javier's penthouse was nothing like Ruby expected. She'd imagined dark, opulent excess. Marble and gold and the kind of wealth that screamed power. Instead, it was quiet. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, rain streaking the glass in silver rivulets. The furniture was sleek, minimalist, dark wood and soft leather. Bookshelves lined one wall, filled with titles in 3 different languages. A chess set sat half-finished on a side table. It felt lived in. Human. It felt like a trap. Guest room is down the hall, Javier said, shrugging off his coat. Beneath it, he wore a black button-down, sleeves rolled to his elbows, revealing forearms corded with muscle and ink, intricate designs she couldn't quite make out. Bathrooms attached. You'll find clothes in the closet. Ruby turned to him, suspicious. You just keep women's clothes on hand? His mouth twitched. My sister stayed here sometimes. Before. Oh. Guilt pricked her chest. I'm sorry, I didn't mean. It's fine. He moved to the bar cart, poured 2 fingers of whiskey into a glass. You want one? I don't drink. Tonight you do. He handed her the glass. Their fingers brushed. That same electric jolt. Ruby took the glass, if only to have something to hold. Javier watched her over the rim of his own drink, eyes dark and unreadable. You're wondering if you made a mistake, he said. It wasn't a question. Ruby took a sip. The whiskey burned. Are you always this perceptive, or am I just obvious? Both. Despite herself, she almost smiled. Javier set his glass down, then moved to the window, hands in his pockets, silhouette framed against the glittering city. I meant what I said, he murmured. I'll keep you safe. Why? Ruby asked quietly. You don't owe me anything. No. He turned, and the look in his eyes made her breath catch. But you warned me tonight. Even though you were terrified. Even though it put you at risk. He stepped closer. Not many people would do that. I wasn't being noble, Ruby said quickly. I was panicking. Maybe. Javier's gaze traced her face, slow and deliberate. Or maybe you're braver than you think. Her pulse hammered. He was too close. Close enough that she could smell rain and whiskey and something uniquely him. I'm not brave, she whispered. I'm a coward. I've been running for 6 months. Running is survival. Javier's voice dropped. And survival takes strength. Ruby looked up at him, and for a moment, just a moment, the world narrowed to the space between them. His dark eyes. The scar through his brow. The way he looked at her like she was a puzzle he intended to solve. Then his phone buzzed. The spell broke. Javier stepped back, pulling the device from his pocket. His expression shifted, sharpened. What is it? Ruby asked. He didn't answer. Just read the screen, jaw tightening. Then he looked at her. And Ruby knew instantly that something was wrong. Get your things, Javier said quietly. What? Why? We're leaving. Now. Javier, what? Eli's man didn't just watch you tonight, Ruby. His voice was deadly calm. He planted a tracker. On you. Her blood turned to ice. What? When you served him. Table 4. He must have brushed against you, slipped it into your pocket, or... Ruby's hand flew to her jacket. And there, tucked into the seam near the hem, was a tiny black device no bigger than a button. Her stomach lurched. Oh my God. He knows you're here, Javier said, already moving, grabbing his coat, a gun from a drawer. And if he knows you're here, he knows you're with me. Which means... The window exploded. Glass shattered inward in a violent spray. Ruby screamed, throwing her arms up as Javier lunged, slamming her to the ground, his body covering hers. Gunfire erupted. Bullets tore through the air, shredding furniture, punching holes in walls. Ruby couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Could only feel the weight of Javier above her, solid and immovable, and the deafening crack of gunfire. Stay down, Javier shouted. He rose to a crouch, gun in hand, and returned fire in smooth, controlled bursts. Ruby pressed herself to the floor, heart exploding in her chest. This is it. This is how I die, asterisk. More gunfire. Shouting from outside. Then... silence. Javier stayed frozen, gun raised, eyes scanning. Clear, he muttered. Then louder, into a phone she hadn't seen him grab, north side. 3 shooters. Get a team here now. He turned to Ruby, jaw tight. Are you hit? I don't think so. He grabbed her arm, hauled her to her feet, eyes raking over her, checking for blood. You're okay, he said, more to himself than to her. You're okay. But his hand was shaking. Just slightly. Ruby stared at him, at this lethal, untouchable man who'd just thrown himself on top of her without hesitation. You saved me, she breathed. Javier's eyes met hers. I told you, he said roughly. I don't lose twice. Footsteps thundered in the hallway. The door burst open. 2 men entered, both armed, both moving with military precision. Boss, one of them said. Dark-haired, sharp-eyed. Building secure. 3 hostiles down. No casualties on our side. Good. Javier's hand was still on Ruby's arm. Get her out of here. Safe house. Route 7. Wait, Ruby started. No arguments. Javier's voice was steel. Eli just declared war. And you're the prize he's after. What about you? I'm ending this. His eyes were black fire. Ruby's chest tightened. Javier. Go, Ruby. He stepped back, and the loss of his touch felt like cold water. Trust me. And despite every instinct, every warning bell, she did. Quick question for you guys. Do you think Javier's catching feelings already, or is Ruby just another asset to him? Drop your thoughts below. And if you haven't subscribed, now is the time. This story is about to get absolutely wild. Asterisk, asterisk. The safe house was a loft in the industrial district, tucked above an abandoned factory. Bare brick walls. Reinforced doors. Windows so small and high they might as well not exist. A cage disguised as protection. Ruby had been here for 3 days. 3 days of pacing. Of watching the door. Of jumping at every sound. 3 days without seeing Javier. The men he'd sent, Nate and Liam, she learned, were professionals. Polite. Silent. They brought her food, clean clothes, anything she asked for. Except answers. Where is he? She'd asked on day 2. Handling business, Nate had replied. What kind of business? The kind you don't ask about. She'd stopped asking after that. But she couldn't stop thinking. About the gunfire. The shattered glass. the way Javier had covered her body with his without hesitation. I don't lose twice, asterisk. What did that mean? She knew about his sister, the girl Eli had taken. But there was something else in Javier's eyes. Something deeper. Like Ruby wasn't just a witness. Like she was something more. On the fourth night, the door finally opened. Javier walked in, and Ruby's breath caught. He looked exhausted. Dark circles under his eyes. Jaw shadowed with stubble. Blood on his knuckles. But alive. You're okay, Ruby said, and she hated how relieved she sounded. Javier's eyes found hers. Held. You sound surprised. I didn't know if she stopped. Swallowed. You've been gone 4 days. I know. Were you hurt? No. Javier. Eli's moving faster than I expected. He crossed to the table, poured himself a drink from the bottle Nate had left. He hit 2 of my shipments. Burned one of my warehouses. He's trying to draw me out. Ruby's stomach clenched. Because of me. Because he's desperate. Javier downed the drink in one swallow. Which makes him dangerous. Then let me go, Ruby said suddenly. Let me disappear again. If I'm gone, he'll stop coming after you. No. The word was iron. Javier. He turned on her, eyes blazing. You think leaving will stop him? You think he'll just let you go? He stepped closer, voice low and fierce. He'll hunt you until you're dead, Ruby. And then he'll come for me anyway, because now I'm involved. There's no walking away from this. Then what do we do? Ruby's voice cracked. Just wait for him to kill us both? No. Javier's jaw tightened. We find him first. How? You've been looking for 3 years. I have a lead. Ruby blinked. What? One of Eli's men. We captured him 2 nights ago. Javier's expression was grim. He talked. And Eli's hosting an auction. 3 days from now. Private. Invitation only. His eyes locked onto hers. You're coming with me. Ruby's heart stuttered. What? No. Absolutely not. He's expecting me to hide you. To keep you locked away. Javier moved closer, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his gaze. We do the opposite. We walk in together. Make him think you're mine. Yours. My companion. He hesitated, just barely. Lover. Heat flooded Ruby's face. You can't be serious. It's the only way to get close enough. His voice softened, just slightly. And it'll keep you safe. If Eli thinks you're under my protection, publicly, undeniably, he can't touch you without starting an all-out war. He already started a war, Ruby pointed out. A skirmish. Javier's mouth curved, sharp and dangerous. I'll show him a war. Ruby's pulse raced. This was insane. Walking into a room full of criminals, pretending to be Javier's lover, dangling herself as bait. But what choice did she have? Okay, she whispered. Javier's eyes searched hers. You're sure? No. She let out a shaky breath. But I trust you. Something shifted in his expression. Something that looked almost like surprise. You shouldn't, he said quietly. Probably not. Ruby tried to smile. But here we are. For a moment, neither of them moved. The air between them hummed. Then Javier reached out, slowly, and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. His fingers lingered against her cheek. I won't let him hurt you, he murmured. Ruby's breath hitched. Why do you care so much? His thumb brushed her cheekbone. Because you remind me of her. Your sister. No. His eyes were dark oceans. Someone else. Who? He didn't answer. Just dropped his hand and stepped back. Get some rest, he said. We have work to do. And then he was gone, leaving Ruby alone with her racing heart and 1,000 questions she didn't have answers to. The next 2 days were a blur. Javier returned every evening, sometimes with Nate and Liam, sometimes alone. They went over the plan. The layout of the auction house. the players who'd be there, the signals, the exits, the contingencies. Ruby absorbed it all, fear and adrenaline sharpening her focus. But it was the quiet moments that undid her. The way Javier watched her when he thought she wasn't looking. The way his hand would brush hers when he handed her a glass of water. The way he'd positioned himself, always between her and the door. Like even here, in his own safe house, he was ready to shield her. On the second night, Ruby found him on the loft's tiny balcony, smoking a cigarette, eyes on the city below. She stepped outside. The night air was cold. "I didn't know you smoked," she said. "I don't." He took a drag. "Any more? Bad night? Bad year?" He glanced at her. "You should be sleeping." "Can't." Ruby leaned against the railing beside him. "Too much in my head." They stood in silence for a moment. Then Ruby asked the question that had been burning in her chest for days. "Who did I remind you of?" Javier went still. "You said I reminded you of someone," Ruby pressed. "Not your sister." "Who?" For a long moment, she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, "Her name was Emma," he said quietly. "We grew up together. She was everything I wasn't. Kind. Hopeful. She believed people could change." His jaw tightened. "She believed I could change." Ruby's chest ached. "What happened to her?" "She got caught in the crossfire. Wrong place. Wrong time." His voice was hollow. "She was trying to get me out. Out of the life. Out of the violence." He exhaled smoke. "She died because of me." "Javier. I was supposed to protect her." His hands gripped the railing, knuckles white. "Just like I was supposed to protect my sister. And I failed. Both times." Ruby's throat tightened. Slowly, carefully, she reached out and placed her hand over his. He flinched, but didn't pull away. "You're protecting me now," she said softly. "I'm using you." His voice was raw. "To get to Eli. Don't pretend this is noble. Maybe it started that way." Ruby squeezed his hand. "But that's not what this is anymore." Javier turned to her, eyes storm dark. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Don't I?" She stepped closer. "You could have turned me over to Eli. Used me as a bargaining chip. But you didn't. You've kept me safe. Risked your own people. Because you're useful. Because you care." The words hung between them. Javier stared at her, breathing hard, walls cracking. Then he moved. His hand cupped her face, thumb tracing her jaw, and Ruby's world narrowed to his touch. His eyes, the heat radiating off him. "You're going to get yourself killed," he whispered. "Maybe." Her heart was thunder. "But so are you." His gaze dropped to her mouth. And then he kissed her. It wasn't soft. Wasn't gentle. It was desperation and fury and 3 years of grief condensed into a single, searing moment. Ruby gasped against his mouth, and he swallowed the sound, fingers tangling in her hair, pulling her closer, impossibly closer. She tasted smoke and whiskey and something darker. Something that felt like goodbye. When he finally pulled back, they were both breathing hard. "This doesn't change anything," Javier said roughly. "I know," Ruby whispered. But they both knew it was a lie. The Aurelius Gallery was the kind of place where money whispered instead of shouted. Marble floors. Crystal chandeliers. Waiters in white gloves carrying champagne that cost more than most people's rent. Men in $1,000 suits discussed million-dollar deals over canapes while women dripped in diamonds laughed at jokes that weren't funny. And somewhere in this glittering den of wolves, Eli Volkov was waiting. Ruby's hand trembled as she adjusted the strap of her dress. A floor-length black gown that hugged every curve, slit high on one thigh, back entirely bare. Javier had sent it to the safe house that morning with a simple note, **, wear this. Nothing else, **. She'd obeyed. Now, standing at the entrance to the gallery with Javier's hand warm and possessive on the small of her bare back, she felt completely exposed. "Breathe," Javier murmured against her ear, his breath sending shivers down her spine. "You're doing fine." "I feel like I'm going to throw up," Ruby whispered back. "That's just adrenaline." His fingers pressed slightly against her skin, grounding her. "Use it. Let it sharpen you." She nodded, not trusting her voice. They stepped inside together, and immediately the room shifted. Conversations paused. Eyes turned. Not unusual, Ruby realized. This was Javier Cruz. Of course people noticed when he entered a room. But it wasn't just him they were staring at. It was her. The woman on his arm. She could feel the speculation. The curiosity. The danger of being perceived. Javier's hand slid from her back to her waist, pulling her closer. "A public claim." "Mine," the gesture said. "Touch her and die." Ruby's pulse hammered, but she lifted her chin, channeling every ounce of false confidence she could muster. "Good girl," Javier breathed, and despite everything, warmth bloomed in her chest. They moved through the crowd slowly, Javier greeting certain people with curt nods, ignoring others entirely. Ruby played her part, the beautiful, mysterious woman who belonged to the most dangerous man in the room. She didn't speak, didn't smile, just stayed close to Javier, letting his presence shield her. And all the while, her eyes scanned the crowd, looking for him. The man from table 4 had been tall, graying hair, cold eyes. But it had been dark, and she'd been terrified, and the image in her mind felt frustratingly incomplete. What if she couldn't recognize Eli? What if he was here and she walked right past him? What if? Javier Cruz. The voice came from behind them, smooth and cultured. Javier's entire body went rigid. Ruby felt it, the sudden tension coiling through him like a snake about to strike. Slowly they turned, and Ruby's breath stopped. The man standing before them was in his mid-50s, silver hair slicked back, wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than a car. Handsome in a cold, aristocratic way. Blue eyes that looked like ice. Not the man from table 4. But Ruby knew him anyway, because this was the face she'd seen that night in the warehouse. The man who'd given the order. The man who'd looked straight at her as she ran. Eli Volkov, *. "Eli," Javier said, and his voice was winter. "I didn't realize you'd be attending. Wouldn't miss it." Eli's smile was perfectly pleasant. Perfectly dead. "I own half the lots being auctioned tonight, after all." His eyes slid to Ruby, and she felt it like a physical touch. Cold. Assessing. Knowing. "And who is this lovely creature?" Eli asked. Javier's arm tightened around her waist. "None of your concern. Come now, Javier. We're all friends here." Eli stepped closer, and Ruby's every instinct screamed to run. "Surely you can introduce us." "No." The single word was a wall of steel. Eli's smile widened. "Protective. How charming." He tilted his head, studying Ruby like she was a painting he was considering purchasing. "Have we met before, darling? You look familiar." Ruby's blood turned to ice. "He knows. Oh God, he knows. *. "I have one of those faces," she managed, voice steadier than she felt. Eli's eyes narrowed slightly. "Perhaps." "We're done here," Javier said coldly, already turning, pulling Ruby with him. "Wait." The command froze them both. Eli stepped around to face them again, and now his smile was gone. In its place was something sharp. Something predatory. "I've been meaning to speak with you, Javier," he said quietly. "About a certain misunderstanding between our organizations." "There's no misunderstanding," Javier replied. "You made your position clear when you attacked my warehouse." "Ah, yes. That?" Eli's expression didn't change. A proportional response, I thought. Considering you've been harboring something that belongs to me. Ruby's heart stopped. I don't know what you're talking about, Javier said. Don't you? Eli's gaze slid back to Ruby, and this time there was no mistaking the recognition in his eyes. 6 months is a long time to stay hidden, Miss Richards. The world tilted. Javier's hand on her waist turned to iron. Careful, Eli. Or what? Eli laughed, cold and soft. You'll start a war? Please. We both know you won't risk your empire over some frightened little witness. Try me. The air between them crackled with violence. Eli studied Javier for a long moment. Then his gaze dropped to where Javier's hand gripped Ruby's waist, possessive, protective, unwavering. And something shifted in Eli's expression. Well, he said slowly. This is unexpected. Last warning, Javier said quietly. Walk away. I don't think I will. Eli's smile returned, sharper now. You see, I came here tonight expecting to flush out a rat. Instead, I find something far more interesting. His eyes gleamed. Tell me, Javier, is she worth it? Is this girl worth burning everything you've built? Javier's jaw tightened. And then, in front of a room full of witnesses, he turned to Ruby, cupped her face in both hands, and kissed her. It was nothing like the kiss on the balcony. This was performance. Possession. A public declaration that left no room for doubt. When he pulled back, his eyes stayed locked on hers. Yes, he said simply. Ruby's heart shattered and soared at the same time. Eli's expression went cold. I see. She's under my protection, Javier continued, turning back to Eli, but keeping Ruby close. You come near her, you come through me. And Eli, his voice dropped to something lethal. You won't survive it. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Eli laughed. Actually laughed. You've gone soft, Cruz, he said, shaking his head. Love makes you weak. I thought you would have learned that by now. He leaned in slightly. After all, it's what got Emma killed, wasn't it? Javier lunged. Ruby barely had time to gasp before Nate and Liam appeared from the crowd, grabbing Javier's arms, holding him back. Not here, boss, Nate hissed. Not like this. Javier was breathing hard, eyes murderous, every muscle coiled to strike. Eli just smiled. Enjoy the auction, he said pleasantly. Then his gaze slid to Ruby one last time. And you, Miss Richards, do try to stay alive. I have plans for you. He walked away, disappearing into the crowd like smoke. The moment he was gone, Javier shook off Nate and Liam, grabbed Ruby's hand, and pulled her toward the exit. We're leaving, he said roughly. Javier. Asterisk now, asterisk. They burst out into the cold night air, and Ruby gasped, lungs burning, heart racing. Javier didn't stop. He pulled her around the corner, into a shadowed alcove between buildings, and finally released her. Then he slammed his fist into the brick wall. Javier. Ruby reached for him, but he jerked away. Don't. You're bleeding. I don't care. He turned on her, and the raw pain in his eyes made her chest ache. He knew. He knew exactly who you were, and I walked you right into his hands. You didn't know he'd be there. I should have. Javier's voice cracked. I should have expected it, should have been smarter. Stop. Ruby stepped closer, ignoring the warning in his eyes. Just stop. He's going to kill you, Javier said hoarsely. Just like he killed Emma. Just like he took my sister. And he broke off, jaw clenching. I can't stop him. Yes, you can. Ruby. You can. She grabbed his shirt, pulled him down until they were eye level. Because you're not doing this alone anymore. We're doing it together. Javier stared at her, breathing hard. Why? He whispered. Why would you risk yourself for me? Ruby's throat tightened. Because the answer was terrifying. The answer changed everything. But she said it anyway. Because I'm falling in love with you. The words hung in the cold air between them. Javier's eyes went wide, then dark, then desperate. "No," he said roughly. "No, you're not. You can't. Too late." Ruby's voice shook. "I know it's insane. I know you're dangerous and this whole situation is impossible, but I..." He kissed her. Fierce and claiming and utterly devastating. Ruby melted into him, hands fisting in his shirt, and for a moment the world was just this, his mouth on hers, his hands in her hair, the thundering of two broken hearts beating in sync. When they finally broke apart, Javier pressed his forehead to hers. "I won't let him take you," he breathed. "I swear to God, Ruby, I won't." His phone buzzed. Once. Twice. 3 times in rapid succession. Javier pulled it out, and Ruby watched his expression shift from desperation to confusion to horror. "What?" she asked. "What is it?" He turned the screen toward her. It was a photo. Of a girl. 17, maybe 18. Dark hair. Delicate features. Terrified eyes. Bound to a chair in a concrete room. "Oh my God," Ruby breathed. "Is that my sister?" Javier's voice was hollow. "She's alive." A text appeared below the photo. "Trade. The girl for the witness. Midnight. Come alone or they both die. E*****. Ruby's world stopped. Javier was staring at the screen, hands shaking, face gone completely pale. 3 years, he whispered. 3 years I thought she was dead. Javier. He had her the whole time. His voice broke. He had her, and he let me think he couldn't finish. Ruby's heart was in her throat. "What are you going to do?" Javier looked at her, and she saw the answer in his eyes before he spoke. "I'm sorry," he said. And then he grabbed her. "Wait, what?" Did Javier just, "Okay, I need to know what you think is about to happen. Drop your predictions in the comments right now. And if you're not subscribed yet, do it. You need to see how this ends. ****. Ruby woke to darkness and the smell of rust. Her head throbbed. Her wrists ached. It took her several long, disorienting seconds to realize she was bound to a chair. Memory slammed back. Javier grabbing her. A cloth over her mouth. Chemical sweetness. Her vision blurring. ****. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no. You're awake." Ruby's head snapped up. And there, across the concrete room, bound to an identical chair, was a girl. Dark hair tangled around her shoulders. Face thin and pale. But her eyes dark, sharp, burning with defiance. Those were Javier's eyes. "You're Sophia," Ruby breathed. The girl's expression flickered with surprise. "You know my name?" "Your brother," Ruby's voice cracked. "Javier, he's been looking for you." "I know." Sophia's laugh was bitter. "Looks like he found me. And it only cost him you." The words were a knife to the chest. "He traded you," Sophia continued, and there was something almost pitying in her gaze. "Gave you to Eli in exchange for me." Pretty stupid, considering Eli's going to kill us both anyway. Ruby's mind reeled. No, Javier wouldn't. Wouldn't he? Sophia tilted her head. "You don't know my brother as well as you think. Family is everything to him. Loyalty. Blood." Her eyes hardened. "You're neither. He cares about me. He used you." Sophia's voice was sharp. "That's what he does. He finds people's weaknesses and exploits them." "Did he tell you about Emma?" Ruby froze. "Yes." "Did he tell you he got her killed because he was too busy playing kingpin to notice she was in danger?" Sophia's smile was cruel. "Did he tell you that he blames himself so much he can't even say her name without falling apart?" "Stop. You were just another Emma to him," Sophia continued relentlessly. "Another chance at redemption. Another project. You really think he loved you?" "Yes." Ruby's voice shook, but she forced the word out. "Yes, I do." Sophia stared at her for a long moment. Then she laughed. You poor, stupid girl. Before Ruby could respond, the door opened. Eli Volkov stepped inside, flanked by two armed men. He looked exactly as he had at the gallery, calm, composed, every inch the businessman. Except now there was no crowd to perform for. Now Ruby could see the monster beneath. Miss Richards, Eli said pleasantly. Thank you for joining us. Go to hell, Ruby's fat. Spirited. I like that. Eli moved closer, hands clasped behind his back. Tell me, did Javier put up a fight? Or did he hand you over easily? Ruby said nothing. I suspect the latter, Eli continued. Men like Javier Cruz, they always choose blood over lovers. It's why they survive. He smiled. And why people like you don't. If you're going to kill me, just do it, Ruby said through gritted teeth. Oh, I will. Eli crouched in front of her, meeting her eyes. But not yet. First, I want you to understand something. I don't want to understand anything from you. That night in the warehouse, Eli interrupted. When you saw me, do you know why I let you run? Ruby's breath caught. I could have caught you easily, Eli said. My men were faster, better armed. But I let you go. He tilted his head. Do you know why? You're insane. Because I wanted to see what you'd do. His smile widened. Where you'd run. Who you'd turn to. You were a test, Miss Richards. A way to flush out the rats in my organization. He leaned closer. And you led me straight to the biggest one. Ruby's stomach turned. I don't. Javier's been working against me for 3 years, Eli said softly. Ever since I took his sister. Sabotaging my shipments. Turning my allies. Bleeding me dry. His eyes glittered. But I could never prove it. Never catch him. Horror dawned in Ruby's chest. Until you, Eli finished. You were the perfect bait. I knew if you ran long enough, got desperate enough, you'd eventually find your way to him. And once you did, he spread his hands. All I had to do was watch. No, Ruby whispered. Every move you made, I tracked. Every safe house. Every moment Javier thought he was protecting you, Eli laughed. He was really just showing me his weaknesses. Tears burned Ruby's eyes. He'll come for us. No, he won't. Eli stood, brushing off his knees. He got what he wanted. His sister. Safe and alive. He glanced at Sophia, who'd gone very still. Well, alive anyway. You said you'd let her go, Sophia said, voice tight. I said I'd trade her for the witness. Eli's smile was razor sharp. I never said anything about letting either of you leave. Ruby's heart plummeted. Eli checked his watch. You have about 2 hours before my associate arrives to dispose of you both. I'd suggest making peace with whatever god you believe in. He turned toward the door. Wait, Ruby called desperately. Please, let Sophia go. She's just a kid, she didn't do anything. She's Javier Cruz's sister, Eli said without turning around. That's enough. And then he was gone. The door slammed shut. The lock clicked. Silence. Ruby's chest heaved, panic clawing at her throat. We're going to die here, Sophia said flatly. No. Ruby yanked at her restraints, ignoring the bite of rope against her wrists. No, we're not. Yes, we are. Sophia's voice was hollow. My brother chose himself over us. Eli's going to kill us. That's how this ends. Javier wouldn't. He did. Sophia screamed, and suddenly she was crying great, gasping sobs that shook her whole body. He left me here for 3 years. And now he finally has a chance to save me, and she broke off, choking. He picked himself. Again. Ruby's own tears spilled over. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Sophia's voice cracked. Just tell me. Did he seem happy? Before this, Ruby thought of Javier's rare smiles. The way he'd looked at her on the balcony. The desperate kiss in the alley. Yes, she whispered. I think he was. Sophia nodded slowly. Good. That's good. They sat in silence, both crying, both bound, both waiting for death. And then Ruby heard it. A sound. Faint. From somewhere above. Footsteps. Sophia's head snapped up. Did you? The ceiling exploded. Ruby screamed as concrete rained down, dust filling the air, choking her lungs. Through the chaos, a figure dropped into the room. Dark clothes. Gun raised. Eyes like murder. Javier, asterisk. Get down. He roared. The door burst open, Eli's guards rushing in. Javier fired. 2 shots. 2 bodies hitting the ground. Then Nate and Liam were dropping through the hole in the ceiling, weapons drawn, moving with lethal precision. Clear, Nate shouted. Javier was already moving, crossing to Sophia first, cutting her restraints with a knife that appeared from nowhere. Javi, Sophia gasped. I've got you, he said roughly, pulling her into his arms. I've got you, Jimena, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Ruby, Sophia choked out. Javier's head snapped up. Their eyes met across the room. And Ruby saw it. The relief. The desperation. The love. He hadn't abandoned her. He'd never planned to. Javier was at her side in seconds, cutting her free, hands running over her face, her arms, checking for injuries. Are you hurt? His voice shook. Ruby, talk to me. You came back, she whispered. Of course I came back. He pulled her against his chest, and his heart was thundering as hard as hers. Did you really think I'd leave you? Sophia said. Sophia didn't know the plan. Javier pulled back just enough to meet her eyes. I had to make Eli think I was trading you. Had to make it convincing. But I was never going to leave you here, Ruby. Never. Boss, Liam interrupted. We need to move. Buildings wired. An explosion rocked the room. The far wall blew inward, flames erupting, smoke billowing. Go! Javier roared. He hauled Ruby to her feet, one arm around her waist, the other reaching for Sophia. They ran. Through smoke and fire and collapsing concrete. Nate and Liam flanking them, providing cover, shouting directions. Ruby's lungs burned. Her legs screamed. But Javier's arm was iron around her, holding her up, pulling her forward. Don't let go, asterisk, she thought desperately. Please don't let go. They burst out into cold night air. An SUV screeched to a stop in front of them. In. Javier shoved Ruby and Sophia into the back, then climbed in after them. The vehicle peeled out as another explosion tore through the building behind them, sending flames shooting into the sky. Ruby collapsed against the seat, gasping, shaking, alive. Javier's hand found hers in the darkness. Squeezed. I've got you, asterisk. For the first time in 6 months, Ruby believed it. But as they sped through the city, sirens wailing in the distance, Ruby saw Javier's face in the passing streetlights. Saw the tension in his jaw, the darkness in his eyes. It's not over, is it? She whispered. Javier looked at her and said nothing, because they both knew Eli was still out there, and he would never stop. Not until one of them was dead. The safe house was different this time. Not a loft. Not industrial. This was a farmhouse 2 hours outside the city, surrounded by fields and silence and nothing but sky. Javier had called it his last resort. Ruby understood why the moment they arrived. This wasn't just a hiding place. It was a fortress. Armed guards at every entrance. Cameras everywhere. Escape routes mapped and memorized. This was where Javier came when everything else failed. Inside, Sophia collapsed onto the couch, still shaking. Ruby sat beside her, uncertain, but the girl immediately leaned into her shoulder. Thank you, Sophia whispered. For what? For making him come back. Sophia's voice cracked. I heard what you said to him. At the gallery. That you were falling in love with him. She looked up, eyes red-rimmed. Nobody's loved my brother in a long time. Not since Emma. Ruby's throat tightened. He loves you. I know. Sophia managed a small smile. But it's different. What he feels for you, she paused. It scares him. And Javier doesn't scare easily. Across the room, Javier stood with Nate and Liam, speaking in low, urgent tones. Ruby watched him, the way his shoulders carried the weight of everything, the exhaustion etched into every line of his face. He looked up, felt her gaze, and their eyes locked. Even from across the room, the connection was electric. We need to talk, Javier said quietly, breaking away from his men and crossing to her. Alone. Sophia squeezed Ruby's hand once, then stood. I'll go shower. Try not to do anything I wouldn't do. Despite everything, there was mischief in her eyes. When they were alone, Javier sat beside Ruby, close enough that their knees touched. You were right, he said without preamble. It's not over. I know. Eli won't stop. He'll keep coming. Keep hunting. Javier's jaw tightened. Unless I stop him first. Ruby's heart stuttered. What are you saying? I'm saying I'm done running. Done hiding. Done protecting my empire while he destroys everything I care about. Javier turned to her, and his eyes were black fire. I'm going to end this. Tonight. How? Eli thinks he won. Thinks I'm wounded, desperate, hiding. Javier's mouth curved into something sharp and dangerous. He's not expecting an attack. Especially not on his own territory. Ruby's blood ran cold. You're going after him. At his compound. Yes. That's suicide. It's the only way. Javier grabbed her hands, his grip firm and warm. I have a contact inside. Someone who's been feeding me information for months. They've confirmed Eli's location, his security detail, everything. His eyes searched hers. This is our chance, Ruby. Maybe our only one. Then I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. You need me. Ruby squeezed his hands back, refusing to let go. You said it yourself. I'm the only one who knows his face. Who can identify him in a crowd? What if your contact is wrong? What if there's a double? You need someone who's seen him. Javier's expression was anguished. I can't risk you again. You're not risking me. I'm choosing this. Ruby leaned closer, willing him to understand. We're in this together, remember? You don't get to shut me out now. Ruby, do you love me? The question hung between them, raw and desperate. Javier's breath caught. For a moment, he said nothing, and Ruby's heart cracked. Then, yes, he whispered. God help me, yes. Relief and terror flooded through her in equal measure. Then trust me, Ruby said. Trust that I can do this. That we can both make it out alive. Javier closed his eyes. When he opened them again, they were glassy. If anything happens to you, it won't. Ruby cupped his face, thumbs stroking his cheekbones. Because you'll be there. And you don't lose twice, remember. A sound escaped him, half laugh, half sob. Then he kissed her. Not desperate this time. Not claiming. This was a promise. A vow. An acknowledgement that they were standing on the edge of something neither might survive, but they were standing there together. When they broke apart, Javier pressed his forehead to hers. When this is over, he murmured, I'm taking you somewhere far away. Somewhere without guns or danger or death. Just us. I'll hold you to that, Ruby whispered. Boss. Nate appeared in the doorway. We're ready. Javier nodded. Then he stood, pulling Ruby with him, their hands still intertwined. Let's end this. Eli Fokoff's compound was a mansion disguised as a museum. White columns. Sprawling gardens. Security that looked like decoration but was really a small army. Ruby crouched beside Javier in the shadows at the compound's edge, heart hammering, adrenaline singing through her veins. There, Javier whispered, pointing to a side entrance where a figure stood, a woman in a server's uniform. That's our contact. Mara. She'll get us inside. They moved quickly, silently, Nate and Liam covering their approach. Mara's eyes widened when she saw them, but she recovered fast. You're insane, she hissed. Noted, Javier replied. Where is he? Third floor. East wing. Private office. Mara handed him a security keycard. This gets you through the interior doors. But Javier. He has 12 guards up there. 12. Then 12 is unlucky for them. Javier's smile was lethal. Mara looked at Ruby, something like pity in her eyes. You shouldn't be here, girl. So I've been told, Ruby said. They slipped inside. The mansion's interior was all marble and gold, dripping with wealth that felt obscene. Ruby's grip on the gun Javier had given her was slick with sweat. She'd never fired a weapon in her life. Javier had shown her the basics in the car: safety, aim, trigger. But her hands still shook. Don't think. Just move, asterisk. They climbed the stairs, silent as ghosts. At each floor, Nate disabled cameras with equipment Ruby didn't understand. Liam took point, weapon raised, clearing corners. And Javier moved like death itself. Focused. Controlled. Every step deliberate. They reached the third floor without incident. Too easy, Nate muttered. Agreed, Javier said quietly. Then, to Ruby, stay behind me. No matter what. She nodded. They approached the east wing. The doors were massive, carved mahogany, flanked by 2 guards. Javier didn't hesitate. 2 shots. Suppressed. Both guards dropped. Nate and Liam dragged the bodies into a side room while Javier swiped the keycard. The lock clicked. The door swung open. And there, sitting behind an ornate desk like a king in his castle, was Eli Volkov. He didn't look surprised. He looked pleased. Javier, Eli said warmly. Right on time. Every instinct Ruby had screamed trap. Where are your guards? Javier asked, gun raised. I dismissed them. Eli stood, hands clasped behind his back. I wanted privacy for our conversation. There's no conversation. Javier's voice was ice. You're done, Eli. Am I? Eli's smile widened. Tell me, did you really think I wouldn't anticipate this? That I wouldn't plan for you to come charging in like some avenging angel? Javier's jaw tightened. You're predictable, Javier. Always have been. Eli's gaze slid to Ruby. Love makes you weak. Makes you reckless. He tilted his head. Did you really think you'd walk in here and walk out alive? That was the plan, Javier replied coldly. Then you're a fool. Eli pulled a remote from his pocket and pressed a button. The room's windows lit up, red dots everywhere. Laser sights. Ruby's blood turned to ice. Snipers, Eli said pleasantly. 30 of them. Surrounding this room. All trained on you. His smile was poisonous. You move, you die. Your men move, they die. And your lovely Miss Richards, his eyes gleamed. Well, she dies slowest. Javier didn't lower his weapon. You'll die too. Perhaps. Eli shrugged. But I'm an old man, Javier. I've lived my life. Built my empire. What have you built? He gestured around. A crumbling organization? A fantasy of redemption. His voice dropped. You've built nothing but graves. Javier, Ruby started. Quiet, Eli snapped. Then, to Javier, here's what's going to happen. You're going to drop your weapon. Your men are going to do the same. And then we're going to have a civilized conversation about the future. The future where you kill us all? Javier's finger tightened on the trigger. The future where I let your sister live, Eli corrected. Sophia's back at that quaint little farmhouse, isn't she? Unguarded. Vulnerable. His smile was a blade. I have men on the way there right now. You cooperate, I call them off. You don't, he spread his hands. Well, you've lost her once. I'm sure you remember how that feels. Javier's composure cracked. Ruby saw it, the terror, the rage, the desperation. Don't, she whispered. Javier, don't. But he was already lowering his gun. Good, Eli purred. Now the others. Nate and Liam exchanged glances, then reluctantly set their weapons down. Excellent. Eli moved around the desk, hands still behind his back. You see, Javier, this was never about the witness. Or revenge. Or any of it. He stopped a few feet away. This was about breaking you. Proving that no matter how hard you fight, no matter how much you love, you will always, always lose. You're wrong, Javier said quietly. Eli laughed. Am I? Look around. You're surrounded. Outgunned. At my mercy. He leaned closer. Tell me how I'm wrong. Javier's eyes locked onto Ruby's. And in that moment, she understood. He was saying goodbye. No, Ruby breathed. Javier, no. He moved. Faster than thought. Faster than breath. He lunged at Eli, grabbing him, using him as a shield. Hold fire. Eli screamed. The snipers hesitated. And in that split second, Javier whispered something in Eli's ear. Something Ruby couldn't hear. Eli's face went white. You wouldn't, Eli hissed. Try me, Javier replied. Then he shoved Eli away and dove for his discarded weapon. Chaos erupted. Gunfire shattered the windows. Nate and Liam moved, grabbing their weapons, returning fire. Ruby screamed, dropping to the floor, covering her head. And through it all, she saw Javier and Eli, locked in combat, vicious and brutal, trading blows like demons. Eli was older, but he was skilled. He landed a punch that sent Javier staggering. But Javier recovered, drove his elbow into Eli's ribs, sent him crashing into the desk. It's over. Javier roared. Never. Eli pulled a knife from his coat. Ruby didn't think. She grabbed her gun, aimed, and fired. The shot went wide, hit the wall behind Eli, but it was enough. Eli flinched, turned, and Javier tackled him. They went down hard, grappling for the knife. Then a single shot rang out. Everything stopped. Eli's body went limp. Javier stood slowly, breathing hard, Eli's gun in his hand. Smoke curled from the barrel. Eli Vogoff stared up at the ceiling, eyes unseeing, a red stain spreading across his chest. It's over, Javier said hoarsely, and collapsed. Javier. Ruby scrambled to him, hands shaking, searching for injuries. There. His side. Blood seeping through his shirt. I'm okay, he gasped. Just grazed. You're not okay, you're bleeding. Ruby. He grabbed her face, pulled her close. I'm okay. We're okay. Sirens wailed in the distance. Boss, we need to go, Nate said urgently. Now. Javier nodded. Let Ruby and Liam help him to his feet. They fled through smoke and chaos, down the stairs, out into the night. Police lights flooded the compound behind them. But they were already gone. 3 months later, Ruby woke to sunlight and the smell of coffee. For a moment, just a moment, she forgot where she was. Then memory flooded back, warm and golden. Greece. We're in Greece, asterisk. She stretched, smiling, and padded barefoot to the balcony. The view was breathtaking. Azure water stretched to the horizon. White buildings dotted the cliffs. Fishing boats bobbed in the harbor below. Paradise. And there, leaning against the railing with a cup of coffee and a rare, genuine smile, was Javier. Good morning, he murmured as she wrapped her arms around him from behind. Good morning. Ruby pressed a kiss to his shoulder blade, feeling the scar there one of many. How long have you been up? An hour. Maybe 2. He turned in her arms, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. I couldn't sleep. Bad dreams. No. His smile softened. Good ones, actually. I kept waking up thinking you weren't real. Ruby's heart melted. I'm real. I know. He kissed her forehead. Still can't quite believe it. 3 months since that night at Eli's compound. 3 months of debriefing with authorities, of testimony that put dozens of Eli's network behind bars. 3 months of rebuilding, healing, learning to breathe without looking over their shoulders. Sophia had testified too, her statement helping to dismantle what remained of Eli's organization. She was safe now, living with a foster family who actually cared. Going to school. Seeing a therapist. Slowly, carefully, stitching her life back together. And Javier. Javier had walked away from it all. The empire. The power. The violence. He'd liquidated his assets, paid restitution where he could, and disappeared. With Ruby. What are you thinking about? Javier asked, studying her face. How far we've come, Ruby said softly. How different everything is. Do you miss it? Your old life. Ruby considered. Before Javier, she'd been a college student working part-time jobs, living in a cramped apartment, dreaming of a future that felt impossibly far away. Now she was here, in Greece, with a man who'd literally burned his world down to save her. No, she said honestly. I don't miss it at all. Javier's eyes darkened with emotion. I don't deserve you. Probably not. Ruby smiled. But you're stuck with me anyway. He laughed, a real laugh, the kind she'd only started hearing in the past month. And pulled her close. They stood like that for a long moment, wrapped in each other, watching the sea. I spoke to Sophia yesterday, Javier said eventually. She's doing well. Got an A on her history test. Ruby heard the pride in his voice. You're a good brother. I'm trying to be. His arms tightened around her. I have a lot to make up for. You saved her life, Javier. After putting it in danger. His voice was rough. After letting Eli take her in the first place. Stop. Ruby turned in his arms, meeting his eyes. You're not that person anymore. And even when you were, you never stopped fighting for her. Never stopped looking. She cupped his face. That's what matters. Javier closed his eyes, leaning into her touch. I love you, he whispered. Ruby's throat tightened. He didn't say it often, the words were still hard for him, still tangled up with Emma and grief and all the people he'd lost. But when he did say it, he meant it. I love you too, Ruby said. He kissed her then, slow and deep and full of promise. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Javier reached into his pocket. I have something for you, he said. Ruby's heart stuttered. Javier. He pulled out a small velvet box. Opened it. Inside was a ring. Simple. Elegant. A single diamond that caught the morning light. I know it's fast, Javier said quietly. I know we've only been together a few months, and most of that was running for our lives, and you probably want more time. Yes, Ruby interrupted. He blinked. Yes, yes. She laughed, tears streaming down her face. Yes, I'll marry you. Obviously. Javier's expression crumpled with relief. He slid the ring onto her finger with shaking hands, then pulled her into a kiss that tasted like salt and joy and forever. I'm going to spend the rest of my life making you happy, he murmured against her lips. You already do, Ruby whispered back. They stood on the balcony, wrapped in each other, as the Greek sun climbed higher and fishing boats sang their morning songs. Behind them, trauma, violence, death. Ahead, uncertainty, yes, but also hope. Love. A future built not on blood and power, but on two broken people choosing each other every single day. What do we do now? Ruby asked eventually. Javier smiled. That rare, devastating smile that still made her breath catch. Whatever we want, he said. And for the first time in both their lives, it was true. Later that afternoon, they walked through the village market, hands intertwined, sampling olives and laughing at their terrible attempts to speak Greek. Ruby watched Javier barter with a fruit seller, his face animated, his guard finally down, and her heart was so full it hurt. This was the man who'd saved her life, who'd chosen her over everything, who'd walked away from an empire because she was worth more than power. Her husband-to-be, her home. Ruby? Javier turned, holding up a ridiculous straw hat. What do you think? I think you look absurd, Ruby laughed. Perfect. I'll take it. He bought the hat, plopped it on her head instead, and grinned. There. Now we match. We do not match. He kissed her, cutting off her protest, and Ruby melted into him. When they finally pulled apart, breathless and grinning, a street musician nearby started playing a soft, romantic melody. Javier held out his hand. Dance with me. Here? In the middle of the market. Why not? Ruby took his hand. And they danced, swaying to music and sunshine, and the promise of every tomorrow they'd build together. Around them, the world continued. Vendors called out. Children laughed. Life, vibrant and messy and beautiful, went on. But in that moment, there was only them. Two survivors. Two souls who'd found each other in the darkness. Two hearts beating in sync. And as Javier spun her, dipping her low while she laughed, Ruby knew with absolute certainty. This was her happy ending. Hard won. Blood-stained. Imperfect. But theirs. And it was everything. Comment happily ever after if this ending destroyed you in the best way. And please tell me, should I write more Mafia shifter romance stories? Subscribe if you haven't yet, and thank you so much for coming on this journey with me. I love you guys. See you in the next story. *** Fire Ring Sparkles.